Friends, recently when I talked about humanity and to one of my students, I was always talking about humanity, and I gave an example where humanity is put in the center of thinking and study of human constitution, human economics, human education, human values, etc., universal human values on the basis of the spiritual reality, which is, I mean, the spiritual reality means you would be able to define what God is, what consciousness is, and what material thing is, what are the differences, and what are the relationships between these, all of these. And on that basis, you form systems like psychological systems and educational systems, cultural systems, economic systems, and political systems like that. In other words, right now, the economics or psychology or politics or education or such other things that we have, which we call mundane, these systems are not based on a philosophy that has ultimate truth of all the elements that we see in this world as their basis, and these systems are not built according to the ultimate truth. Now you may say the West has not, and the science has not found these truths, but in India at least, because in this Bharat, because we have understood these truths, eternal truths from ancient times, we should have been making rules and laws and education and all the society and its norms, etc., on the basis of those eternal truths that we already know. It didn't happen, and we are just imitating the West, and it doesn't matter who is in the, which party is in the power, but everyone is trying to go towards getting first rank. Like India is now in fourth rank, it was in fifth rank. 10 years ago, it was 10th ranked economy. Now it is fourth ranked economy. Now we are going towards first rank economy, right? So this is how we are thinking, because unless we are number one, we won't be taken seriously. So that we have realized. So we now don't think that we have the ability to dictate terms to this world, even if we are Vishwaguru, unless there is acceptance in the minds of others towards us as Vishwaguru. Our self bragging will not be sufficient. This is the thinking. Now, fine, whatever it is. But what I am talking about is a system wherein you know the ultimate truth. For example, what is ultimate? Ultimate is, if you go down to, if you boil down everything that you are seeing, if you put it all in a mixer grinder, big one, huge one, what you will get? What is the ultimate elements that you will get? So according to a certain thought, you will get atoms. First thing, one atom is material and another atom is conscious atom, and there is gap between these two, that is space, and that space is everywhere, and conscious atoms are everywhere and material atoms are everywhere. So it is the play between all these three. This is how certain entities, certain philosophy has defined this whole world. So on that basis, that philosophy proposes economics, politics, psychology, sociology, culture, constitution, everything on that basis. So we don't have such a system so far wherein we consider ultimate truth, whatever it is, as the basis, and on that, on top of it, we build systems. So when I showed a system, a community where such systems have been found and such systems are being practiced, which are humane systems, putting human being in the center of thinking everything. I'll tell you why putting human being in the center is important and new. Earlier in religion, we have been putting God in the center and thinking about everything. Materiality means putting matter in the center and thinking about everything. Now we are putting human being in the center and thinking about everything. So when I showed this, one of my students says, this is a communist philosophy. So I also use the word communist sometimes in a way that gives out an inferior meaning. I understood what he meant, but whether it is communism or capitalism or socialism or mixed economy or whatever system it is, behind it, if there is consciousness, behind it, if there is truth as basis, these systems, all of these systems are well intentioned and can have success. Therefore, if it also depends on how you define communism. Communist, when you say communist, what you actually mean. If you mean that an individual is not the highest entity there, the most important entity there, an individual has to mold himself or herself according to what the community wants. If that itself is communism, yes, then Vivekananda is also communist. We have to ask this question whether Vivekananda is communist in that sense. Whether Vivekananda, for example, Vivekananda very forcefully supported arranged marriages against love marriages. He said you cannot choose your life partner just like that, based on the looks or just like that. Okay, that I think he compared that with demonic attributes. The reasons are there. You can study them. It's not the topic of this subject or this video. So what he means is your choices need to be in alignment with the community that you are living in, with long term goals, with the agenda of conserving values that have been uh, intact and been achieved so far and being maintained so far by the whole country and tradition. Now, in that sense, and in many other senses, we have to ask whether Vivekananda himself is communist or not. The answer will be surprising to you probably, but the answer would be largely yes. Okay, so but it is more than Vivekananda's communism is more than the communism that we know of in the world, like in China and other countries, North Korea, where it failed miserably. We consider it as failed largely because individuals may not report such happiness, etc. Because we are individuals, we think in terms of individuals. So we see where the individuals are happy, and if they are not happy, as much as happy as we would like them to be, then we think from that point of view and give a rating to a system like communism or capitalism and say this is a failure system. But if you have the capacity, if you have developed the capacity to identify yourself as a community and see another community, then you will see a Chinese community. So, of course, North Korea doesn't seem to be having any success, real success. The reasons are all different, etc. But China seems to be quite powerful, right? Uh, yes, it comes at a cost. But the difference is, again, in my video few days ago, I have made a video on sacrifice. There will be sacrifices, but whether you have grown up to the level where you are doing the sacrifice, not considering that as sacrifice or not. So, if you have to cry about it, if you resent it and regret it, that is not the kind of sacrifice that we want you to do or I would like to do, etc. So, things come at a cost. Everything comes at a cost. For example, when I was a child, I used to play with some toys, like any other child. Those toys are very valuable to me. Were very valuable to me. If someone asks those toys, I might not have given to them. I might not have shared with them. But right now, I don't myself know where those toys are. If I were consistent, then I should be living with those toys, valuing those toys even today, just like I valued them on that day in my childhood. But I myself don't know where they are, which means I don't even think of them, which means I outgrew them. Now, you may say that I have sacrificed them. I did not, because I don't miss them. So, in any communist philosophy, if we all understood communist philosophy, the condition is we need to outgrow certain individual traits, certain small things to gain big things as a community. If some individuals are regretting that, some individuals have not educated themselves into thinking why the greater things that we are getting are more important than the things that we are foregoing. That is not the fault of the system, but system certainly would have to help those individuals also. If I have a dog, for example, as a pet, I would like the dog to be free, roaming free all the time, never leashed. But if the community that I'm living in cannot afford that kind of freedom given to this dog, what should I do? I would have to use a leash. Then there are two ways to look at it. One is I'm sacrificing, my dog is sacrificing, there is a cry there, there is resentment and regret there, and there might be anger also, and disappointment, etc. But if I have grown up, then I would see it as, is it not true that we are all living together? Is it not true that we all have to have some order in life? Is it not true that in the interest of everyone, where everybody is happy, not just dogs happy or the dog owners happy, dog parent nowadays, happiness is important. Everybody's happiness is equally important. So we do whatever is allowed in the circumstances, whatever best is allowed in the circumstances. So this is how we would be thinking. And if we are thinking that way, we would think leashing a dog as a very natural thing. And the dog cannot understand. That's fine. A human being not able to understand is not acceptable. That is where education is. So the communism that Vivekananda would be talking about, Buddha was a communist, and if you talk about that way. So was Shankaracharya not a communist? He was talking about communities. If you want to say properly, then he would also be a communist. Jesus was a communist. Why should I treat my neighbor according to Jesus when he says, Jesus, treat your neighbor as thyself? Why should I treat my neighbor as myself if I am not a communist? So, communism in a positive sense is very important and necessary. So, we need to understand, we need to actually outgrow our selfish interest. So, the more unselfish we become, the more definitely communal we become. But that communism is not the kind of communism that we are seeing in this world where it failed. So consciousness and knowledge, jnana, vijnana, viveka, all of these, when they come behind communism, it becomes beautiful. It will be successful if you all work. If you don't work, then nothing will be successful. Capitalism, admittedly, is based on selfishness. So what is the contrast that you are showing to communism? Is it not capitalism? So there all the laws and system, everything is elevating an individual to a supreme position. Now you are saying that capitalism is able to bring people out of poverty, but are people feeling just? Are people happy with capitalism all the time? And such capitalism based on selfishness, anything that is based on selfishness Can it really give happiness to all of us? Well, that is the big question. So, I do not think that any prophet worth his name, worth this title, is anything but unselfish. And I see unselfishness is the basis of communism. But I don't want a communism where there is no understanding of spirit and there is no understanding of consciousness behind. So, if you put consciousness and spirit behind this kind of communism and you actively educate yourself, then that kind of communism is welcome. Then there is no problem in calling anybody communist. It would become praise, not a blame or not a curse. In democracy as well, we know that democracy works only when there is education, when there is proper education. Otherwise, fools will outvote people who are informed and educated. But is proper information being given to everybody so that they can process it and make it knowledge? No. So the democracy is also failing many times, right? So we are all working with systems that are flawed. Therefore, we need a system which is at least theoretically perfect first. Then we have to work on them and check whether the system is practically working or not. And then scale it up to humanity level and achieve sustainable harmony, which can be called happiness. Thank you.